So thank you so much, sir, for joining in this episode of Frontline Warriors, where we try to get the industry people to talk about their experiences to share with the youngsters, so that they could benefit from your knowledge and experience. To start with, sir, one thing is that people would definitely want to know about you, your education, and your experiences about how you started. So if you could just tell them about a bit about yourself.
Sure, sure. So, let me tell you my education. I'm basically an electronics and communications engineering graduate, and I'm the batch. I'm the graduate of the batch 1999.
Okay.
Okay, and I have been into this industry, especially the IT and the engineering industry, since last almost 18 years or 19 years. Yeah.
That's a long time.
So yeah, that's a really long time, and I have seen almost a completely new batch of engineering graduates who passed out and who are under my guidance and mentorship. So I know like how people acquire the skills and how people get acquainted with the new technologies and continuously learn and also unlearn.
So, sir, one thing is that obviously, considering the current state where everybody wants to get into the IT industry and everything, how did you decide to get into the core industry? Like everybody is obsessed with IT, but core industry, not many people are in. So, how did you get into it?
Well, first of all, it was my passion and my choice. That was the first thing.
Mhm.
And second thing, in general, people usually get into the trend that there is only one way in one area that is completely focused and people needs to get excel. That is IT. But that's not the case. In fact, in many a case, it happened that people started getting into IT from other domains, and they again then they found that okay, their skills and their essential uh, 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 knowledge or their 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 skills are not actually matching to the requirements of the IT. So like I would say people should more listen to their own mind and they need to understand themselves first. That is important thing.
So, one thing that definitely comes that considering you have around 2 decades of experience in the industry, right? 18, 19 years of industry. So obviously making a name for yourself would have been a tough, right? So what were the challenges that you had to face, right, while building up your career? And also being 19 years industry, obviously you did your engineering, but then also upskilling was very much required while having such a long career. So how was this growth trajectory for you in that sense?
Yes, growth is always up and downs. If you say if you feel like you are steadily growing, or say if you feel like you are steadily you're not keeping up, then it is definitely a concern. So ups and downs are of course part of the life. Uh, well, particularly on my side, the the era that I started and the era that I finished my engineering graduation, at that time we did not have that much of infrastructure in terms of learning. We did not have sufficient connectivity and connectedness, of course. So those were the kind of challenges. I mean, those were the kind of days when I started, when I finished my IT, my engineering graduate. And over the period of time, as and when we found new tools and technology, we got acquainted to those technologies, but started our core area and strength in building in that particular direction. So my advice is that like people should focus and retain their core area and strength in that core area always there. I mean that should be their focus. No matter tools, technologies may change, but they should remain in that particular area. So that's how actually I also excel. And of course, there are a lot of downs. I mean, in my case also, like, but somehow we got managed by whatever the motivation was there at that point of time.
So one thing that now coming to the present scenario, right? Considering 2020 is not as expected as it should be with the pandemic and everything. So how did the current pandemic affect your industry, and like what is going to be the way forward for this industry amidst the all the pandemic happening?
Well, especially to my industry, yes, it has affected. It has affected in the sense like, our overall business got reduced by 33%. That is one third
That's a
almost.
very big amount.
That's a very big haul, of course. But still, we have hope. And we are relying on that hope that, yes, the next quarter and the subsequent quarters would pick up further. But at the same time, it also gives an opportunity to introspect and learn further. Like, if this kind of situation happens, what would be the next tool? What would be the next thing to go with? How would we sustain ourselves? How would we retain ourselves? At the same time, we would serve our customers to the way that we used to. So that gives a better opportunity to, switch to better tools and practices. Like earlier, we used to do a field visits to fix the panels and switches and all this. Now the same thing we can do through video and remote calls.
Mm-hmm.
Things are almost same. Only thing is that now tools are changed, and it has also actually to a certain extent actually reduced our time and efforts and our revenue haul. So that's a good that's a good part that we learned actually.
One question that comes to my mind in this current scenario is that so being now software industry, it somehow work from home, it is possible because you are working remotely, you're working over the internet and everything. But being in the core industry, how is the work from home situation coming up? Like how's it going?
Well, that's a good question. In fact, to be frank, even in my industry also, it is not 100% work from home,
Okay.
but to a major extent, it has been, and we are still in the process of evolving ourselves to, you know, get more and more remote infrastructure tools to so that we can serve our clients better. As of now, still, I would say almost 30% of our workforce is
Mhm.
still working from the office. And even during
Okay.
the strict lockdowns, also, we
Mhm.
had this. In fact, we had special permissions because our industry is completely into essential services industry
Okay.
because we are into the electricity, I mean, the
Mhm.
energy domain. And being in the energy domain, uh, ours is a core business. So
Mhm.
naturally, we need to have some workforce to always be on support for 24 by 7. Whether it is our data center clients, whether it is our large building clients or whatever. So that has to be there. But at the same time, a good thing is that the facilities team were
Mhm.
able to quickly provide sufficient infrastructure
Mhm.
and precautionary measures so that people can feel safe while they are working. That is the first thing. At the same time, we actually categorize it into different support levels. Like wherever there is an essential support is required
Mhm.
through the field, for those people only, we keep our force to be on the field, on the
Okay.
office. But all the other support team, which we can do it remotely as much as possible, we
Mhm.
use the tools and the remote mechanisms to solve the problems. So in that way, it worked.
So, in my understanding, what is happening is that the situation was unexpected. So, the industry is overhauling to meet the current situation demands through various using various
Exactly.
tools and mechanisms.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's
Great,
correct.
great. So, obviously, it makes sense because many industries have been affected. So, obviously, this industry being an essential industry which we cannot function without has to. So, that's a great insight that even I was not aware of. So, definitely, much thanks for that. So, coming to the next question, is that is something which is basically what we are trying to understand is that So, as per your experience, right, what are your views about the current upskilling demand of our nation? Like, do you think there is any recession state we are in yet? Or do you think is there any downside impact on employability or business because of the pandemic?
Well, I should say first recession. I would say it is not because of the spending. I mean lack of spending from the people, but
Mhm,
rather since people are forced to be at home, since
mhm,
people are not allowed to be in the businesses,
mhm,
it has affected, and it has affected in the area where we had major movements and major business out of it. For example, facilities at airport, facilities at restaurants, facilities at uh, cinema halls, and so on. So those are affected. Having said that, yes, the business models are transforming for sure.
mhm,
So naturally, it transpires into better means of reskilling ourselves. That is for
mhm,
sure. Okay, even if you consider like current delivery of education system,
mhm,
whether it is academic or whether it is skilling, this has also uh, changed a lot actually. Like it has actually created a more demands on the IT infrastructure
mhm,
and sophisticated software to be always on connected. So yes, that is the other side of that. So
mhm.
businesses in one side has shrunk, but businesses in the other side has grown further.
Definitely, definitely.
Like if you consider the telecom demands, the demands in the
Mhm,
telecom is nowadays much more because people want connectivity, better connectivity at homes, which was never the case.
definitely.
So
I
that
definitely
way it
agree
is.
with you on this.
Yeah.
One thing that we have seen is that just the case of Zoom, if you look at it, the
Correct.
moment pandemic set in, Zoom just saw an uproar of users on its platform.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
That definitely is there. So, do you think, sir, the young generation, right, coming who is just coming into the industry, let's say the fresh batch of 2020 who is coming in, do you think they should be equipped of any kind in the current situation that work from home is the new, has become the new norm? They should be more used to working from home or office.
Well, to my opinion, they should be ready to work from anywhere, whether it is
Okay.
home, whether it is office. The whole point is that they should be, first of all, they should be healthy
Mhm,
by physically and mentally.
mhm,
First thing. Secondly, they should be adapt to any situation arising out of any pandemic. Like current pandemic has, of course, uh, uh, gave us too much chance on rethinking ourselves, like what we
mhm,
can do and what we should avoid. Okay, so the same thing we should consider, accept it, and follow a different practice. So I think with that, definitely there are chances of not only sustainability but also growth. So
So, in that scenario, sir, following it up with a question on the same lines. Okay. So, what kind of soft skills do you think youngsters should be focusing on in the current market, which is transitioning into a new sort of work from home and like basically a modular work from home work situation? So, what kind of soft skills do you think youngsters should have in this scenario?
uh, very first thing, the earlier mechanism, earlier way of having meetings and collaborations,
Mhm,
people used to learn how they can be uh, adequate, how they can have adequate in remote calls,
mhm,
and how they can be more convincing uh, on having meetings through remote calls and convincing people and deriving out solutions through
mhm,
remote calls. uh, Most of the time it happens like people tend to read the faces and accordingly they react and they accordingly agree or disagree on terms and all this.
mhm,
Now with the remote calls, how you can plug that gap That is something that we need to understand. That is on the soft skills part. And at the same time, when it comes to communication by remote means,
Mm-hmm.
no matter whether it is email, no matter whether it is remote meetings or phone calls or all this like that, people should be decent in verbal communication because that has now raised that demand accordingly. So I think that should be the area where people should focus.
Definitely, it makes much more sense that if you're working from home, your communication should be top notch, because that is the only
Because
connection that you will have with your office.
exactly, and lot many things rely on that. In fact, earlier, let's say if 10 people are sitting on a conference room, they can easily read their each other's face, and accordingly they can quickly get the work done.
Mhm.
Okay, they can quickly conclude on certain meetings. I'm not sure whether the same thing can happen over a Zoom meeting or over a remote meeting. It is quite possible, and in fact, in my case also, it has happened. Like uh, some things cannot be concluded immediately because of one or the other reason,
Mhm.
and we identified that the root cause was like the communication.
Mhm.
So it is quite possible. So I think productivity can be increased when we adopt to these tools.
Definitely. So coming to your industry, sir, that coming to your industry. So let's say nowadays what happens is that everybody is, even since you are an electronics and communication engineer, you would know that everybody, even after doing an degree in EC engineering, many people shift to the coding side of things, right? Doing the code thing. So one question that comes up is that for getting into the core digital transformation industry or automation industry, right? What skills should the engineers try to build up, and where do they start? Like, how do they get into your industry? What skills and how do they start building up that skills?
In my opinion, I think people's orientation, I mean the students' orientation towards IT is primarily because I think the lucrative packages that IT offers. First thing, second thing, more opportunities and more demand on that particular area. But I think they are somehow maybe they are not actually creating a balance, or maybe they are not getting the underlying balance that has been there for the other industries as well. I think one important thing that people, as I mentioned earlier as well, like
Mhm.
people should always focus on their core area and strength. More than IT, it is more about solving the problems. It is more about uh, building the products, building the products of the next generation,
Mhm.
whether it is uh, based on IT or whether it is based on anything. Like nowadays, if you see, like there are lot many young generation people who have started building, electric cars, electric scooters, and
Mhm.
even more energy efficient systems and products around this. And good thing is that many of them have also got the IP and patents out of that.
Mhm.
People should be more oriented towards that particular nature of research and uh, you know uh, uh, productizing their research. That is much more important. Like we have lot many problems around us. Like for example, wastewater is a big
Mhm.
challenge here. Water scarcity is a big challenge here. How will we solve the problem? Energy is again a big challenge here. How will we solve the problem like that? Okay, we have lot many issues around traffics. How can we sense and identify and reduce the traffic around us, right? So I mean there are a lot of area where you need not only just computer but a combination of computer plus electronics plus devices plus whatever, I mean. So our ultimate goal should be productizing and providing the solution out of this.
Definitely, that makes much more sense that people get
and
interested in solving real problems.
and for that, naturally you need to learn the essential and basics of the corresponding subject area. So naturally, automatically you will understand, like now you need to focus more on these aspects.
So In that scenario, sir, one thing that I feel, obviously there is much lack of knowledge in this sector, right? People are not aware of their career options or anything. So in that scenario, what do you think? What role can industry experts like you play to educate the future of the basically the youngsters in this?
Okay. I remember one quote from CNR Rao. CNR Rao is our scientist here
Yeah.
in Bangalore, and he really gave a good statement once that no one, the new generation always feels like when you do research, you always should be in IT, but that is not the case. We have physics around us, we have chemistry
Mhm.
around us, okay, where lot many things can happen and lot many things are required to be done. For example, in the pandemic situation, we had lot many demands for the smart devices, okay,
Mhm.
manufacturing of the devices and integrated solution to ensure that the people are safe and people are at social distance. It requires, of course, the physics. It requires, of course,
Mhm.
the learning and understanding about the communications and signaling, right? So there are lot many things around this that we can identify and we can build nice solutions out of that. So being a veteran into this industry, I would always prefer like, uh, but good thing, yeah. One more important thing is that I think maybe the current delivery of education itself
Mhm.
requires a little bit rethink on that, because when people feel, when students feel that okay, certain area is lucrative, then
Mhm.
why others are not lucrative? What is the problem? So I think people should be people should actually motivate students to more on that particular area as well, that we have lot many areas where we need better products and solutions around this.
Mhm. That is definitely there. The nowadays, except the IT industry, people are not ready to somewhat get into the other industry. All engineers
Exactly.
somewhat kind of go towards the same path of becoming a coder or an IT specialist.
Correct. That has to be little bit changed. For example, even let's say if even though I'm a fantastic software developer, maybe a
Mhm.
good architect,
Mhm.
but until I don't understand the essential theory about let's say signal propagation,
Mhm.
I cannot build any traffic management system around that, because I need to first understand and know about that, right?
Mhm.
So 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 the champion of that particular area only can help us and guide me if I am an IT person. So
Yeah.
people should understand that as well.
So, coming from this thought of yours, so there is one question which is somewhat being partial to our platform itself, but then I would like to ask that have you ever thought of becoming a teacher and sharing your knowledge with the young community?
Uh, to be frank, I used to be in my earlier era of around 1999, 2000. Yes,
Okay.
I was I was working as a teacher in
Mhm.
an institution.
Okay.
So yes, that's really a nice opportunity, I would say. Academics is always like, if you are passionate about this, definitely you will enjoy with young people around us, around you.
So in that scenario, sir, what do you think about the e-learning thing? Because obviously nowadays, because of the pandemic and everything, things have gone online, right? Everything is online. You teach and everything. So basically, what do you think about being an industry expert and also an online expert teacher on this on a very vocational basis? What do you think about that?
That's a really good opportunity because it further provides me a flexibility on my terms and my time,
Mhm.
like on which way I should deliver, how I should deliver, at what time I should deliver the lecture. Yeah, so definitely that is really an added advantage for me. So yes, of course, online teaching and
Mhm.
practices, definitely yes.
Because
But at the
one
same
thing
time,
is,
it is
yeah. No, please sir, go ahead.
at the same time, yeah, sorry. At the same time, yes, mm, we need to have better equipments, better network connectivity also that is required. So this backbone has to be there.
Because one thing that I was combining two questions of yours. One thing, as you said, right, that there is not much awareness about this industry, and Being an industry veteran, experts like you, they can spread awareness as well as teach at the same time. There is
Correct.
first, there is this awareness that you spread out. The second thing is obviously there is now obviously there has to be a financial incentive to it. So both of
Correct.
these things are there. So I was just trying to combine and see if online teaching could be as lucrative enough.
Sure. Yes, it is.
So, sir, one final question, which basically comes out to, and that is something which this is the section which I look forward to the most because that gives us great insight. What is the one valuable life lesson that you have from your years of experience that you would like to share with us?
Okay. One valuable life lesson that I can see or I can tell is that learn to learn and learn to unlearn. What to learn, what to unlearn, that depends
Mhm.
upon the context.
Okay. So I am actually a bit confused. Like, if you can give
Okay.
more.
Okay. Okay. So when I say learn to learn means
Mhm.
you should know at what particular point of time what skills you need to acquire, because nowadays the industry is drastically changing, not just in IT but
Mhm.
everywhere, in every part of the life it has been affected, and things are changing rapidly. So you should know like what to learn, considering the next generation demands and considering the next generation industry's requirements. At the same time you should also need to know like what to unlearn. That means the earlier practices that you used to do,
Mhm.
you should reduce or you should eliminate that at one point of time, because that is not relevant now. So that part also we need to actually learn.
I think that is a very great advice considering that most I have seen people who have held on to skills which are not anymore applicable as well, which have become redundant, but then just because of that skill,
Exactly.
they have
Exactly.
stopped growing.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
unlearning is definitely a very important factor which people need to learn about.
Correct.
So those were all the questions from my end, sir. Anything that you would like to share apart from that, sir?
No, that's it. I think that's it from my side.
So, thank you so much, sir, for joining in this episode. We would definitely love to see more of you on the platform, and we'll
Sure.
definitely. It was a wonderful chat that we had. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yes.